Beginning of 2000, Mongolia was affected by a very difficult winter for 2 years. Millions of animals died, and many herder households were deprived of their only source of income, the livestock. During this tragic period, the assistance provided by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, or SDC, to herders stricken by disaster was a tremendous help to Mongolia. The SDC assistance helped reach out herder families blocked in remote pastures with urgent medical help, food, warm clothing, and forage for the animals. This period left a dark spot in the history of Mongolia and in the lives of herder families. During these years, 10 million animals perished and hundreds of herder families fell into the poverty trap, losing the basis of their livelihood. How could this happen to Mongolians with thousands of years of traditions and experience of managing livestock? No, the reason is not in the lack of experience, but something totally different. It was in the years of ignorance towards management of rangelands and providing the basis for the existence of livestock farming, ignorance to traditional knowledge of resting and rotational grazing to let the rangelands regenerate instead of running blindly after increasing number of animals at the cost of degrading the rangelands. In the past decade, degradation of pastures has reached an alarming state. According to researchers, 70% of rangelands are degraded, but rangelands constitute 80% of the total territory of Mongolia. So, what does this spell for Mongolia's future? In the early 1990s, when Mongolia made a transition to a market-oriented economy, animals were privatized to herders, but the rangelands remained under state property. Herders were thrilled after being freed from 70 years of being tied to Soviet-style collectivism to finally own their own animals. The livestock population multiplied as those formerly employed by state cooperatives and offices managed to get some animals of their own and left to the countryside in order to earn their living as herders. So within a decade after democracy in the early 1990s, the number of animals doubled and herder households tripled. Herders were praised nationwide on how successful they had become. Politicians came up with an idea to reward herders whose animal numbers increased to 1,000. This was how Mongolia welcomed the new century, the year 2000. However, the first winter at the eve of the millennium started showing signs of being tough, with sudden temperature dips and frequent snow. Unfortunately, no one took notice and caution, so when the first days of sudden cold and heavy snow set in, animals started to die in bulks, and it was too late to wake up. Starting from herder households to the government, nobody was prepared for this, financially nor physically. Even by emptying the whole country's treasury, Mongolia was not able to overcome this tragic situation on its own. So, the government had to call for external help. So going back to answer the previous question, how could this happen to Mongolia with thousands of years of experience of managing livestock? Basically, having exceeded the carrying capacity of rangelands continually for a decade has exhausted its fertility, and animals have been growing weak and malnourished. So the problems have been building up, and in the face of the first harsh winter in decades, it just exploded. In brief, herders hoping to improve their livelihood by increasing the number of animals at the cost of depleting their pastures resulted in this tragic end. The Green Gold project of SDC started in 2005 with the aim of supporting Mongolian herders to build sustainable bases for their livelihood, maintaining healthy rangeland and managing sustainable herd sizes. First, the project together with herders tested different methods to recover rangelands from degradation. And the final result was that the most ecologically and economically feasible method was a traditional practice of resting and rotational grazing to allow rangelands to regenerate themselves. So, in order to enable herders to reintroduce and enforce proper resting and rotational grazing, Green Gold assisted in the formation of pasture user groups. This initiative has further enabled herders to establish a formal land use agreement with the local government. It has also opened up the possibility for herders to legalize their customary rights to their traditional pastures inherited from their ancestors. Herders with land use agreements are encouraged to invest in their rangelands, and it also encourages an attitude towards preserving the grasslands intact for their future generations. As of today, the Green Gold project has assisted in the formation of 700 pasture user groups involving 60,000 herder households. As a result of improved organization and communication between herders, 240,000 hectares of degraded rangeland has been recovered, 500 hectares of haymaking areas were fenced, and green forage was planted in 400 hectares of land, while 500 rangeland wells were rehabilitated. herders have also joined 66 cooperatives that were established on the basis of the pasture user groups. As final words, we are witnessing the change that herders are increasingly growing in their capacity to become owners of their own destiny.